There was once a Jew named Rabbi Yitzchak. Now, Rabbi Yitzchak and his wife lived a very meager life. They didn't make much money, if any, and to be honest, they were okay with it. They were fine not eating much and not making much money. They lived a very simple life. The one thing that pained them the most was they had no children, and all they wanted was a little boy. So one day, Rabbi Yitzchak decided to go to the docks to see if maybe some ships had come in, and he could work as like a middleman, He could see what they're selling, go find some buyers, and make a wage in between. But alas, there was no ships on the horizon. So he started walking along the beach, thinking, what's he going to do? It had already been a couple days, they hadn't had much to eat, and he wasn't making any money now, so he didn't know what to do. And so he started talking to Hashem, and he realized, I just have to have faith, trust in Hashem, and everything will be okay. So at that point he decided to turn around and walk home, and as he was walking, he saw something glistening in the sand. He went to look at it. Turns out it was a huge gem the size of a walnut. He took this diamond and ran home. He showed his wife and he said, we're saved, we're never gonna have to worry about food ever again. And so he gave the gem to his wife and he said, you must go to the village jeweler and find out how much exactly this is worth. So she went to the jeweler. And the jeweler was stunned. He'd never seen a diamond this big. He says, I'm sorry, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough francs to pay for this. He says, maybe if you could go to the closest city, they might be able to have it. They might have enough money. So she came home, told her husband the news. Her husband said, okay. He made the long journey to go to the city, and he started asking around all the city jewelers to see if they had enough money, but no one had enough. So he started walking home. While he was walking home, word started to spread, and eventually it hit the ears of the emperor. Now the emperor had been looking for a gem this big, because he had been building this statue, this huge idol in the middle of his courtyard, and the right eye had a big gem, and it needed a matching one in the left. So he assembled a group of his closest priests, and he sent them to this Jew's house, to his village. Now this group of priests show up. Now you have to understand, in France at this time, it was not a good time for the Jews. The Cossacks were going around rampaging. So when you see a group of these priests show up at your house, Rabbi Isaac he's scared, he was in fear. And he said, don't worry, it's okay. We heard that you have a very precious gem, a big gem, and we want to buy it from you. And he says, oh, okay. And he says, how much are you willing to spend? They said, as much as you want. He was in shock. He says, wow, who's willing to pay for this? They said, the emperor himself is building a statue in his courtyard, and he needs a matching gem in the left eye to match the one in the right. He says, oh, this is for a statue, an idol. He said, yep. He says, okay. And he got hesitant. He thought to himself, I can't sell this gem for idolatry. That's against my whole religion. And so he told him, you know what, I don't think I could sell it. And so they upped the price, and they said, any amount will do. We can really give you whatever you want. He says, I'm sorry, I don't think I can. So they pushed, and they said, you know what? Whether you want to or not, we're going to get that gem. I suggest you take the money because the alternative option is not looking good for you or your family. So he thought about it. He says, you know what? Okay, fine, I'll do it. And so they were thrilled. He says, but I want to give it to the emperor myself. They said, fine, no problem. So he packed a bag, and they took him to the docks, and they boarded a ship to go to the city. While on the ship, Rabbi Yitzchak devised a plan. And he started telling people, I've got this giant gem in my pocket. They said, I don't believe it. So one guy kept pressing him, show me the gem, show me it. Eventually he said, fine, but you have to be very careful. This is my life's fortune in my hands. He says, okay. Took out the gem, handed it to this guy, and the guy was in shock. His hands were shaking looking at it. At that point, Rabbi Yitzchak tripped and hit the man's arm, and the gem fell into the water. He started crying. He said, how could you do that? That's my life. That's everything I am. And the man was in shock. He didn't know what to do. And so the priests came and they saw what was going on, and they felt very bad for Rabbi Yitzchak. When they got to the city, they took him to the emperor, and the emperor felt sympathy for him. So he paid for his ticket back home, and that was the end of the story. But Rabbi Yitzchak was overjoyed, so happy that he wouldn't have to give this gem to go to some idolatry. When he came home, when he was walking home, he met a man. This man introduced himself as Eliyahu the prophet, Elijah the prophet. Says, I want to tell you, Rabbi Yitzchak, that I've been sent to tell you that Hashem was very pleased with what you did. to give up that fortune for his sake made him very happy. And he wants to bless you with a son. That your son is going to shine brighter than all the gems in this world. And the Torah that he teaches is going to shine till the end of days. And that was the blessing that he gave Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak ran home and told his wife the good news. And sure enough, within that year, they had a son. And this son was Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, Rashi as he's known today. Sure enough, we still study Rashi's teachings. He's the foremost commentary on the Torah, on the Talmud. He is everywhere, and he has changed the game, teaching the simple meaning of all these texts, allowing students from the age of 5 up to old men to learn the deepest teachings of the Torah. And today is the day of Rashi's passing. So in his merit, we should continue to learn Torah and to grow in our wisdom.